considered a stationary, single turn, conducting circular loop. So you can see it in the figure that you have a circular loop, it is a conducting loop and it is having single turn. Its contour is C and which encloses the surface area S, and it is placed in a time varying magnetic field which is represented as dt. Now the induced EMF in this loop will be given by VEMF, where this equation we have already derived previously, which is the Faraday's law, where the time varying electric field gives rise to the time varying magnetic field gives rise to electric field, or it is vice versa. So VEMF is written as E dot dl equal to minus del V by del T ds. Now what we do is, we know that it is due to the transformer action, which is in fact the concept of the power analysis. Now we apply the Stokes theorem. The Stokes theorem relates the line integral to the surface integral. So E dot dl, now it becomes del cross E dot ds. So line integral is converted to the surface integral. On this side we have surface integral of del B by del T ds. Okay. Now what we find is that for these two integrals to be equal, we have to equate their integrands, and on one side the integrand is del cross E, and on the other side the integrand is minus del V by del T. So what we obtain is, this is the one of the Maxwell's equation, which is the Faraday's equation. So the previous equation which we had taken here, now it leads to the Faraday equation, where time varying magnetic field gives rise to the electric field. Now it shows that the time varying electric field, it is non-conservative. So when it is going to be non-conservative, then the curl of the electric field is going to be not going to be zero. It will not be zero, it will be non-zero. So now we know that for any conservative field, the work done in taking a charge about the closed field, about a closed path in a time varying electric field, it is going to be zero. So now we have to see where from this minus sign has come, and this minus sign is actually because of the Lenge's law. So the Lenge's law, So the next case is moving lobe. So this already we had done in the last class, so I'm just repeating, giving you a brief in continuation what we did in the last class. So now the second condition was where the loop is moving and the field is static, and this field is known as the motional EMF. So here we consider a conducting loop which is moving, and we have a static field B. So the EMF induced in the loop we have to find out, and we know that the force on a moving charge which is moving with a velocity v, velocity u in any magnetic field B, it will be given as Fm equal to Qu cross B. So now we define a motional electric field as Em, and this Em we define in such a way so that it is equal to Fm by Q. So what is left in the equation number 10? It is U cross B. So when we define a motional electric field Em, which is Fm divided by Q, we are left with U cross B, and this is the equation what we get for the motional electric field. Now if we consider a conducting loop moving with uniform velocity U, consisting of a large number of free electrons, the EMF induced in the loop will be VEMF, which is line integral of Em dot dl. Now what is Em? Em is U cross B. So here we write U cross B. So as we did in the previous case, where we wrote E dot dl, and then on the right hand side we were having del B by del T, here we are having U cross B dot dl. So now what we find is this type of EMF, it is known as the motional EMF or flux cutting EMF, because it is due to the motional action, where the charge is moving and the field is static. Loop is moving So field is static and loop is moving. So it is the kind of EMF found, which is mostly you can find it in the electrical engineering, like in electrical machines, like motors, generators, alternators. Also in a two-pole DC machine, which has one armature coil and two-bar commutator, the voltage will be generated when the coil rotates within the magnetic field. So this is also evident in the two-pole DC machine. Another example which we can consider is when a rod, we allow it to move between a pair of rails. So B and U are perpendicular, so we can see from equation 11, and also if we apply equation number 10 previously, the other two equations, we will get Fm equal to IL cross B. And Fm will be equal to ILB because here we are considering the condition that B and U are, you can see it in the diagram here, that we have, this is the pair of rails and a rod is moving. So you can see that for different position of this rod, the loop area will be different. So we can say that it is a moving loop with static B field. And static B field, it is represented by this cross sign, which is the direction of the field perpendicular to this rails. So now what we get is, we get VEMF as UVA. So again, applying the Stokes theorem, where the line integral is converted into the surface integral, we get del cross EM dot ds as del cross U cross B dot ds. Now again, equating their integrands, what we get? We get del cross EM is equal to del cross U cross B. Now here, you must be wondering that where the minus sign has gone. So this minus sign is actually embedded here in this expression because we have already included this minus sign because of which is due to the Lenge's law, and it is already accounted for. So if we apply this equation, then we have to exercise some care, and the following points one should note. The first one is that the integral in the equation, the final equation, it is 0 along the portion of the loop where U is equal to 0. Therefore, dl is taken along the portion of the loop, that is cutting the field where U has non-zero value. And the direction of the induced current, it is the same as that of the EM or U cross B. And we select the limits of the integral in the direction of the, which is opposite to the induced current. So here you can say that this minus sign is being taken care, which is due to the Lenge's law. So this, thereby it is satisfying the Lenge's law. So in the figure, we can see that the integration over L is along. So you can see here, this is y direction, this is x, and z is perpendicular to x and y. So the integration over L along AY, which is your vertical direction, whereas the induced current flows in the rod along AY. Okay, it is minus AY and plus AY. Now the third case is just the combination of the first two, because here we consider both the loop as well as the field is varying. Loop is moving and also field is varying. So it is a very simple case. We just need to add both the cases where the transformer EMF and motional EMF, they are combined. So V and EMF will be E dot dl. So this first part is due to the transformer action. The second part is due to the motional EMF. So transformer EMF and motional EMF both are combined here, and we get the induced EMF expression for the induced EMF. So now again taking the surface integral, and then we can, for this also we can take the surface integral, and then we can equate their integrand. What we will get del cross E is equal to minus del V by del T plus del cross U cross B. So this way we can consider for all the three cases. Next is very important topic, which is the displacement current. And first, we have in the Faraday's law, we have obtained for the induced EMF. Now, for the time varying field, because we found the expression for the time varying field. Now we will see the Ampere's law for the time varying condition. And from here we will gather the concept of the displacement current. So we all know that del cross H is equal to J for static electromagnetic field. Now if we take the divergence of this curl of this vector, so we take the divergence, that will be del cross H will be equal to del cross J. No, divergence. So del cross H is equal to del dot J. So what we will obtain, we know that the divergence of the curl of a vector field is identically 0. So del cross H will be equal to 0. So effectively del dot J will be equal to 0. But it is not true, because we know from the continuity of equation that del dot J, it is equal to minus del rho by del T. So time derivative of this rho v. Okay. So volume charge density, and this is not equal to 0. So it means that this equation is something wrong with this equation. So we cannot use it as it is for time varying case. So what we will do, we can say that this equation is incompatible, which is, it is not true. What was true for static electromagnetic field is not true for time varying electric field. So in order to make it compatible, what we do, we add one term, which is JD. So this JD is your extra term which is added to equation number 1, and then we try to examine whether condition 2 is now valid or invalid. So now we have to find out the term which we have added here, JD, what it is, how it can be determined, and how it is defined. So again, what we do, after adding that term, again we take the divergence of the curl of the vector, and since it is 0, identically equal to 0, but now this time we do not get the condition, because here we have del dot J is equal to minus del dot JD. Okay, so it is not 0. So the previous condition which was getting violated is no longer getting violated here. So del dot JD will be now equal to your minus del dot J, and this we know that it is time with derivative of the rho v. And what is rho? Rho is equal to del dot D. So this already we know. So we will substitute for rho v as del dot D, and this will be equal to del dot del T by del T. So now what is the value of JD? JD we can now obtain from here, equating this del dot JD is equal to del dot del D by del T. So from here we get JD is equal to this term, del D by del T. So now if we substitute this equation number 6 into equation number 4, what we get? We will get del cross J is equal to J plus JD, and now JD is our del D by del T. So J is the current, J is the conduction current density, and JD is the displacement current density. Okay. So this is the Maxwell's equation, which is based on the Ampere's circuit law for a time varying field. So when we consider the static case, we do not have the term JD, but when we consider the time varying case, we need to include that term JD, which is known as the displacement current density. Okay. So the term del JD, which is equal to del D by del T, it is known as displacement current density, and J is the conduction current density, and it is written as sigma into E, where sigma is the conductivity, E is the electric field. So this way now we have modified the Ampere's law for the time varying field. So what we see is that if we insert this term JD into our equation number 1, this insertion is one of the major contributions of the Maxwell. And this is the term which is responsible for wireless communication and the propagation of electromagnetic wave. Okay. Otherwise, if this term was not there, this wireless communication or propagation of electromagnetic wave would not have been possible. Now, what happens if we work at low frequency? Like you do all your first year classes of basic electronics, that you are doing all the circuit boards you are using, which are mostly at 50 hertz frequency. Are we going to consider the term JD? No, because it is negligible. At low frequency, we do not have displacement current density. It is mostly negligible compared with J. J is the conduction current density. So at low frequency, we only have the conduction current density. We do not have the displacement current density. So low frequency, there is no problem. So that is why the Ohm's law, the KCL, KVL, everything is applied there. But at a high frequency, we need to consider the term JD. It becomes quite comparable with J. And in the case of wireless communication, we do not have any conductor. So there, this term J will vanish and we will have only the term as JD, which is the displacement current density. Now, as I told you in the last class also, that at the time of Maxwell, the high frequency sources were not available. So the mathematical equation was not verified experimentally. So it was years later that when Hertz conducted the experiment, he detected the radio waves. There only this equation was verified, and that is why we say that it is one of the rarest of the rare occasions where the mathematical foundation were laid down first, and then only it was proved experimentally. Otherwise, in most of the scientific discoveries, you will see that first the experiment is done, and then based on the experiment, the mathematical theory is being derived. But it is unlike that situation, that here first we obtained the concept mathematically, and then the concept was proved experimentally when the high frequency sources were available. Now let us try to understand this concept of the displacement current. And to understand the concept of displacement current, it can be very well understood by considering a simple circuit which consists of a capacitor. Now believe me, this displacement current, the concept, whenever you go for some interview and if they ask that you have studied the electromagnetic theory and you say that yes, I have undergone that concept of, or I have taken up this course as a course of electromagnetic theory, it is 99% that people will ask you the concept of displacement current. What is the concept of displacement current? How it can be explained experimentally or with a simple example. So this is one of the simplest example where we have considered that we have a capacitor in the circuit. So you can see that here based on the displacement current density, we define the displacement current. So displacement current density is JD. So ID will be defined if we take the surface integral of this JD. So this, since JD is del D by del T, so we can substitute it and we can write this equation as surface integral of del D by del T dot ds. So this displacement current is the result of the time varying electric field. If electric field is static, this displacement current is not going to occur. So only when the electric field is time varying, then we will get the displacement current. So as I told you, to prove the concept of, or to understand the concept of the displacement current, we can consider a very simple experiment where we have in the circuit we have a capacitor. So now you can see in this circuit, in the first figure, we consider a surface S1. Now this surface S1 is not enclosing capacitor, it is just enclosing the wire. The current is depicted by I. So this current which is entering here is also coming out of the capacitor. So this current I and I both are same. It has to be same. So this S1 is a surface, closed surface, which is enclosing the wire only. But here we consider in the second figure, you can see that we are considering a surface which is a balloon-shaped surface. And this balloon-shaped surface, it is selected such that it is now crossing the capacitor. So you can see that this surface is crossing the capacitor, where the upper terminal of the capacitor is within this and the other end it is outside. So it is just intersecting the capacitor. So now what we do, we applying an unmodified form of Ampere's circuit law to the closed path L. So H dot dl. Okay, so here's something is wrong. Please correct this. It is H dot dl is equal to J dot ds is equal to I enclosed, which is equal to I. Okay, so these all signs minus, these signs are equal signs. So please correct this equation. So it will be like this. Okay, it will be like equation number 10. So equation 9 here wrongly I have written. All these minus signs will not be there. They are equal signs. So H dot dl will be equal to J dot dl equal to I enclosed equal to I. Okay. So here this is the which equation? This is the unmodified form of the Ampere's circuit law to a closed path L. Okay, which is shown in figure A. In figure A, where we have considered that my surface S1, it is enclosing the wire only. So I is the current through the conductor and surface S1. This is surface S1 is the flat surface which is bounded by L. So I is the current which is flowing through the conductor. So you can see here I is the current which is flowing through the conductor. So in the first equation we are considering this surface S1 which is enclosing only the wire, not the capacitor. So here H dot dl will be equal to minus J dot ds. This is S1. S1 is passing through it is only enclosing the wire, and this will be equal to I enclosed, equal to I. I enclosed is the current flowing through the closed surface S1. So that is why I am writing I enclosed, and I enclosed is nothing but it is equal to the current I. So I is the current through the conductor and S1 is the flat surface which is bounded by this L. Now we consider the second figure. So if we use the balloon shaped surface S2 in the second figure, you can see that we have a balloon shaped surface S2 and here it is enclosing this. So it is passing through the capacitor. So S2 that passes between the capacitor plates. So now what we will have? Again the same equation. Now this time J dot ds equal to I enclosed. So what is the current between the plates of the capacitor? There is no conduction current. So it is equal to 0. Because there is no conduction current, J is equal to 0 flows through the S2. So now it is contradictory in view of the fact that the same closed path L is used. So we need to resolve this problem, or we need to resolve this conflict. So in the first case, what we have seen, when surface S1 is there, then I enclosed is equal to I. But when we consider a surface, balloon shaped type of surface, which is now passing through the capacitor, then there is no conduction current. So when the conduction current is 0, then I enclosed will be equal to 0. But it is definitely a contradictory statement because of the fact that the same closed path is also used here. So we need to resolve this conflict. So what we do? To resolve this conflict, we need to include the displacement current in the Ampere's circuit. So what I said in the beginning, that is when we were solving the mathematical equation where JD was not taken into account, we found that the divergence of the curl is equal to 0 and del dot J was becoming equal to 0. And then only to resolve that conflict, we added the term JD. So here also the same thing is proved experimentally, that if we take a surface where it is enclosing only the wire, and then in the second case when we are taking a balloon shaped of surface which is enclosing the capacitor, we find that in the first case the current I enclosed is equal to I, but in the second case the I enclosed becomes equal to 0 because there is no conduction current. So it is a conflicting statement. So to resolve that problem, what we do, we now add a term JD. So in the first case, when we are considering the surface S1, there is no JD, displacement current, it is only conduction current. So that is why it is valid. But in the second case, there is no conduction current because the surface is passing through the capacitor. So there is no conductor there between the plates of the capacitor. It may be a dielectric, it may be something else, maybe free space also. So there is no conduction current. So now what we get is H dot dl is equal to, instead of J dot ds, we have JD dot ds. And this JD is, we know that it can be written as del by d by dt of d dot ds. And this is nothing but d dot ds is q. So integral of d dot ds is equal to charge, and that is why we get this as dq by dt, and the rate of change of charge, this is d by dt of q, this is equal to the current. Okay, time derivative of this charge is equal to current. So now equation is correct. So until we include the term JD, we are not able to show that the displacement current is occurring. But we know that the current entering into the capacitor is equal to the current coming out of the capacitor. So how the current is flowing between the two plates? Of course, it is not a conduction current. So it has to be some other current, and that current is named as the displacement current. So this is the current which passes in free space, which travels in free space or in dielectric material, but not in conductor. So we obtain the same current for either surface, although it is conduction current in S1 and displacement current in S2. So in the first case, we have the conduction current because the surface S1 is enclosing the conductor only. In the second case, the surface S2 is not enclosing the conductor, but it is passing through the capacitor where there is no conductor. It is only dielectric, and dielectric can be air also, free space also. So there, since there is no conductor, but we can see the continuity of current, that is current entering into the capacitor is current coming out of the capacitor. So where from this current continuity is taking place, how it is happening? So it is happening because of the term JD, which is the displacement current density. Okay, so displacement current density is responsible for the displacement current or responsible for the propagation of electromagnetic wave in free space or in dielectric, where there is no conductor. And we have also seen that this the term JD, it is almost negligible at low frequency. At high frequency, JD is comparable with your conduction current density, which is JC. So if you have a circuit and if you have connected a source which is of 50 Hertz, source is producing some voltage, and that is 50 Hertz. So current flowing in that circuit will be 50 Hertz. So there we don't have to consider JD. It is only the conduction current. But if I increase the frequency of that source, maybe to 1 gigahertz, then I also need to consider the term JD. So at high frequency, JC and JD both are comparable. Now, if I talk about the wireless, like antenna, I have one antenna which is transmitting the electromagnetic wave. Then it is the free space. So I don't have any conductor between the two antennas, one from, let us take the ground station, another is at the satellite. Or other way, if I take the downlink of the satellite, the one antenna is on the satellite and one antenna is on our rooftop, maybe dish antenna. Okay, so how that electromagnetic wave is propagating? There we do not have any conductor, we have only free space. So it is because of the term JD, which is the conduction, which is the displacement current density, and the displacement current is ID. So that is why we say that it is the displacement current which is responsible for the wireless communication, or the propagation of the electromagnetic wave. So is it clear to all of you? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So now we move on to the generalized form of the Maxwell's equation. So we will see what type of the Maxwell's equation now, how we write it for the time varying field. So you can see here, there are two sets of Maxwell's equation. We can write either in the differential form or in the integral form. Now which set is to be taken? It depends on what is our aim. So the integral form of the Maxwell's equation depict the underlying physical laws, and mostly you will find that whenever we solve any boundary value problem, we use this kind of integral equation, because there we can put these limits. And the differential form, it is mostly used in solving problems, but here it is mostly depicts the underlying physical laws. So depending on the set of the problems, one can pick the particular either differential form of the Maxwell's equation or integral form of the Maxwell's equation. Now the first equation is the Gauss's law. The second equation is again the Gauss's law for the magnetic charges. So here we can see that since it is zero, there is magnetic charge cannot be isolated, or magnetic charge do not exist. Then this one is the Faraday's law, where the time varying magnetic field gives rise to electric field. So there is no change. If we examine these equations and compare it with the case of the static case, we find that the first two equations, there is no change in them. They remain as it is. So only that is your dot, del dot D, del dot B. Okay, so divergence equations, they remain unchanged for both for time varying as well as for the static case. But this curl equations, the two curl equations, now there is a difference between the static case and the time varying case. So here del cross E is minus del B by del T, which is the Faraday's law, and this we have proved also that the time varying magnetic field gives rise to the electric field. In the Ampere circuitry law, now you can see for the static case we were having only J, but for this time varying case we also have a term del D by del T, which is displacement current density. So this set of equation, it is the differential form of the Maxwell's equation. Another set is the integral form of the equation. And for a field to qualify as an electromagnetic field, when we will say that this field is an electromagnetic field, when it will satisfy all these four Maxwell's equations. So for any electromagnetic field to qualify, it has to satisfy all four Maxwell's equations. So any field, we can say that it is the electromagnetic field. It will be qualified as an electromagnetic field only when it is going to, if it satisfies all the four Maxwell's equations. Okay, so existence of electromagnetic field is demonstrated by these four equations. That is why it is a four equation for time varying case. Now, going further, there are two more equations which are associated with the Maxwell's equation, and we need to know that. And this is already there. One is the Lorentz force equation, where F is the force on a charge q when the charge is moving with a velocity u because of this force. So this is given as the it is known as the Lorentz force equation, and it is represented as F is equal to q within bracket E plus U cross P. So this is also associated with the Maxwell's equation. We do not write it along with these four equations, but it is already associated. It is assumed that it is always there with the Maxwell's equation. And another equation, which is the equation of continuity. It is implicit in the Maxwell's equation, where del dot J, this is equal to minus of del rho V by time rate of change of the volume charge density. Now, the concepts of linearity, isotropic, and homogeneity. Now, what is this? What are these terms of a material medium? So, when I say that a material medium is linear, what do you understand by this? If suppose it is a free space, my electromagnetic wave is propagating from the satellite to our dish antenna. So, what kind of the medium it is? Is it a non-linear medium or linear medium? Yes? Anybody? And what is the, when we will call that a medium is a linear one? Vedant? Yes? Who is going to answer? What is a linear medium? Bushra? What is a linear medium? Hello, Ashish? Nobody is there? Hello?
We don't know, ma'am.
Oh, everybody knows that. See, I do not ask any question which you do not know. I always ask the question which all you already know. Linear. What is that linear? Okay, forget about electromagnetic. What is a linear thing? Ohm's law. Is it a linear law or non-linear?
And for conductors, it's linear.
Yes, yes. I could not hear. What is it?
For conductors, it's linear.
For conductors, it is linear. What is that? Conductors, it is linear. Okay, you see this equation. D is equal to epsilon E. Okay, when I will call this to be linear?
I think it's linear.
It is linear because if I increase E, if D increases in linear fashion, means if
E will
E
also
comes
increase.
to, D is also like that. Okay, and if epsilon is a scalar, like suppose epsilon, I take it as equal to 5. So if E is increased, D also increases, and if we plot that, it is a linear curve. So it is linear. So when you have a free space condition, mu 0, epsilon 0, perfect free space, you have, when the satellite is transmitting the electromagnetic wave, it is crossing the medium, which is a linear medium. So there, in any linear medium, the applied field and electric displacement, they will have a linear relationship. Again, the linear medium is free of saturation. That is, it is only varying linearly. There is no condition of saturation. So the curve is not going to bend. It is linear only. It is y is equal to x type of thing, straight line, linear. Then the linear medium is free of saturation. The linear medium is also free of hysteresis. So these are the linear medium. Now isotropic. What is isotropic medium? A medium which has same value in all the direction. So whether we, like suppose epsilon x, value of epsilon in x direction, value of epsilon in y direction, value of epsilon in z direction, or value of epsilon in any other direction. So isotropic medium is a medium where the property of the medium, it is not going to change in any direction. It will be same in all the direction. Is it clear? So isotropic means it is irrespective of the direction, the material property, it is going to be same. So in this equation, the material property is depicted as epsilon. In this equation, the material property is depicted as mu. In this equation, the material property is depicted as sigma, conductivity. So permittivity, permeability, and conductivity. So if these are same, irrespective of the direction, then they will be an isotropic, that medium will be isotropic medium. Okay? Now, if they are non-isotropic, then they will not be scalar. If it is isotropic, they will be scalar, because epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z, epsilon, everything is going to be same. So when it is all equal, it is just a number, scalar. But when it is different in all the direction, then epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z, all are going to be different. Then it will not be a scalar, it will be represented in terms of a matrix. So that will be a non-isotropic medium. Now homogeneous medium, homogeneous material medium. Homogeneous, if I am measuring if I am seeing the property of the medium, so value of suppose the dielectric constant in a material at one particular point, then I move to another point and I measure the value of the dielectric constant at some other point. So if at all the points the value of the dielectric constant is same, then it is known as a homogeneous material. Okay? So homogeneous is with respect to the distance, that is at all the points, Isotropic is with respect to the direction. If the material property is same in all the direction, then it is isotropic. If material property is same at all the points in the material, everywhere in the material, then it is going to be a homogeneous material. So the concept of linearity, isotropy and homogeneity of a material medium, it is applicable for the time varying field. So this you must have studied for the static field, but it is also now valid for the time varying field. So same concept is also there, because here we are checking whether the Maxwell's equation, where the other concepts are remaining the same or they are changing for time varying field. So we have found that for two of the Maxwell's equation, they got changed for the time varying field. Similarly, we are trying to see whether the concept of linearity, isotropy and homogeneity of a material, it is valid for time varying case or not, and we see that it is also valid, it is valid for the time varying case. So the concept of linearity, isotropy and homogeneity of a material medium, it is also applicable for this. Same is true for the time varying field also. So in a linear, homogeneous and isotropic medium, we characterize it as sigma, epsilon and mu, where these three quantities are scalar quantities, just a number. So the constitutive relations that we know, which is D is equal to epsilon E, one of the Maxwell's equation, H is not one of the Maxwell's, it is constitutive law, but it is coming from we can apply in one of the D, we can write it in terms of E, B we can write it in terms of H using these two equations. So D is equal to epsilon E, which is epsilon 0 E plus P, B is equal to mu H, which is mu 0 H plus M, and J is equal to sigma E plus rho B. So it is holding for time varying field. Okay. So now the boundary conditions also, we have to check whether the boundary conditions, they are valid for time varying field or they are not valid for time varying field. So that also need to be known to us. So whether it is valid for the time varying field or it is not. So this slide I will start in the next class. Okay. So how many of you have tried solving some problem based on Faraday's law? Anybody tried? We will do it at the end of this module. We will solve all the problems related to this, but anybody who has tried on his own? Yes? See, this subject is not, yes?
Not yet.
Not yet, but please start doing it. See, it will be easier for you if you start doing something from your side also. Try to contribute something from, then continuity will be maintained, and at the end of this module you won't face any problem, because we will be giving you the MCQ type of the test, but it may contain some problems, though the answer will be one of the options. But it will be you need to solve small problem, mostly based on the concepts in this MCQ, and you must be knowing that at the end of each of the module we will be having one quiz. So quiz will be for half an hour, and you may have questions starting from 30 to 40 MCQ type of questions, depending on whether it is 0.5 marks or 1 marks, depending on whether you have to solve something or just you have to tick something. So any problem till now? Are you able to understand what I am explaining, or there is any problem? Yes? So if you are keeping silent, what should I understand? You are not understanding anything. Is it? Yes? Aman? Akanksha? Ayush? Atul? Nobody? Nobody is understanding anything. Yes? See, it is better to sort out this problem right in the beginning. Yes? Not understanding anything? Can you hear me or not? Yes? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you're not understanding anything. You can say frankly, what is the problem? Or you are not listening. You are just logging in and going somewhere else. Yes? You think that
No,
these things are already done by us, so what is the fun in again sitting and doing the same thing again? So you have to tell me whether you are understanding it or you are finding any difficulty. Then I'll try to do it in some other way.
No,
yeah,
ma'am,
we are
it's clear.
understanding, but the problem is
But
it's the questions are too much, so we need to revise it.
so see, you have to revise something. Everything cannot be done in the class, isn't it? Some of the
Yes.
basic things you have to revise.
Yes, ma'am.
But my request is that whatever I teach in the class, when you go, now you are in the home only, so there's no need of saying that when you go home. So you have to see what I have taught, and then you will really enjoy in the class. But if you do not pay any attention after the class, and if you do not try to see how much I have covered and what I have covered, then it will be difficult for you to understand, because the next class is based on the previous one. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
next time when you come, you please revise whatever I have done till now. Then you will really enjoy the course. Otherwise, it is just spending time and without learning anything. Okay? Okay
Yes,
then.
ma'am.
Okay, I will leave now. I think from next time our this first. Now I was facing some problem in the UPS also, but I think they are going to replace it. So next time, some even the power goes.